Maseches. Okay, Maseches Horayos Daf Beis Amud Aleph in the very bottom of the page. Today's Amud is Beis Amud Beis, and right now we're still in Beis Amud Aleph at the bottom. We are like 3 lines from the bottom of the page, actually 2. This year is Lili Nishmas of Imoyri Menachem Ben Akiva, Ruth Bas Shalom, Lili Nishmas of Bas Moshe, Ulefuas Nina Chai Bas Geula Rochel. Okay, so we said yesterday Machlokes. Yesterday's Machlokes was about what happens if a person makes a double mistake, right? In other words, a person went to the Ruv, and the Ruv told him, and this Ruv is from the highest Beth Din, and that Ruv told him, you know, this piece of chalav, that new item in the market, that piece of chalav, it's chalav, it's not chalav, it's chalav, but it's mutter chalav. This kind of chalav is okay to eat, the rice, no problem, the Rabbanon, go ahead and eat it. Now, after that, the person mistook, by mistake, he switched his chalav in the kitchen with a regular fat. In other words, he thought that chalav that was allowed by the Rav that happened to be in his kitchen, he thought it's regular shuman, which is really kosher. Yeah, so there's really 2 mistakes here. First of all, Beth Din made a mistake, and also the person himself made a technical mistake of switching chalav to shuman, which yesterday we said they look exactly the same. And this is a very, very common mistake mentioned in the Gemara, to switch for shuman. So then we say what? Now we have Machlokes, Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. Rav said that really the person is potu. Yeah, Rav said that the person is potu. What does it mean? The person himself is considered to be toile on Beth Din. The person himself is considered to be someone relying on Beth Din. And people are relying on Beth Din, according to Rabbi Yehuda, even if they're individuals, they don't have to bring a korban. By the way, Beth Din does not have to bring a korban, neither does the person. Neither of them has to bring a korban. In a case where Beth Din made a mistake, but not the majority of people follow them, the minority, yeah, it's Machlokes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanon, and we'll explain why very much in detail later on, but at the end of the day, according to Rabbi Yehuda, if an individual followed Chachamim, he doesn't have to bring a korban. So even though he has his own mistake, we can still say, Lamaisa, he also followed Chachamim. Now, Rabbi Yochanan said, no, he has to bring his own korban. Rabbi Yochanan said he has to bring his own korban. No questions now. 1 minute. Rabbi Yochanan starts
with the first, the one, go right at the second.
1 second. Rabbi Yochanan says that the person has to bring his own korban. We do not consider that mistake as alleged to Beth Din. We say this is his own mistake. He made the technical mistake, the classical mistake of switching chalav to shuman. We view it as his mistake, and therefore he has to bring his own personal korban, which is a she goat or a sheep. This is Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. Yes, what would you like? Let's continue. So let's start reading where we're holding in the Gemara. Omar Rove, the beginning of the penultimate line. Omar Rove. Rove is making a comment on the Machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rav. And he says like this. Moide Rav, although Rav says that he's potur, that this person is not, he's potur because his mistake is connected to Beth Din more than to himself. It's not his own responsibility, and therefore he doesn't have to bring his own korban. Although Rav connects his mistake to Beth Din, nevertheless, Moed Rav she'eino mashlim lerov tzibur. Whoa, what does that mean? Now listen carefully. As we said before, without going into details, we said that when are Beth Din chayv b'korban? Everyone agrees, Rabbi and Rabbanon. When is it the Beth Din have to bring the big bull? And according to other opinions, 12 bulls, because 1 per each shevet. Yeah. There's all shaila exactly how that works. There are 12 tribes in Judaism, I think. So then when is it the Beth Din have to bring the par, Helam Dovel Shel Tzibur, the big story? only when the majority of Klal Yisrael living in Eretz Yisrael followed their advice. I didn't see it, by the way, your question, I didn't yet see the answer, but let's say, what's majority? It is not even 51%. It's, lahavdil, like in the coalition, you have to have 50% of the Uchlusiyah of the population, and if you have only 50% of the people who followed Beth Din do not have to bring a korban. If you have 50% plus one shmerel, one guy, he is what you call in English the tiebreaker, then Beth Din have to bring a korban. That's in general. That's not going into our story. In general, that's the way it works. We're not talking about shvatim, that's another cheshbon. Let's talk about the regular classical story. It's 50%, there's no Beth Din bringing korban, not yet. If 50% plus one guy, it's not even 51%. It's just one more guy. You have to be very, very careful. And that one guy, the tiebreaker, he also made the mistake following Beth Din. Then Beth Din have to bring a korban. Now let's read again. Moide Rav, says Rav admits, she'einu mashlim le'oiv tzibur. If 50% of the tzibur followed Beth Din blindly, and they said, Beth Din said you can eat the chaylev, everyone went to the market the day after, and they bought that piece of chaylev. Beth Din said it's fine. Now that one guy, our friend, he has a double barrel mistake, right? He actually mistook chaylev to shuman. He followed Beth Din, and also he made a mistake of confusing chaylev and shuman. This guy does not break the tie. He's not mitzaref, he's not now considered to be the tiebreaker and be together with the rest of the people to make Beth Din bring a korban. No, why not? At the end of the day, they all made a mistake. 50% plus Mr. One Guy. Mem tes, my timer. 2 lines from the bottom of the page, but penultimate line. Bishgogo. It says bishgogo. It says in the pasuk they make a mistake, not shgogos. One mistake. Which means the entire nation or the majority of the nation made a mistake, meaning the same type of mistake, the same kind of mistake. But if 50% made the mistake of following Beth Din, and he made a different kind of mistake of switching chaylev to shuman, right, from the chaylev counter where he keeps his candles to the shuman counter where he keeps his shleishika things, he made that mistake. Because the mistake is different, they're not all, it's not homogenic, it's not all the same mistake. Mimele doesn't join forces, they don't gang up together on Beth Din and make Beth Din bring a korban, so to speak. That's even according to us. According to Rabbi Yochanan, for sure not. Because according to Rabbi Yochanan, he's completely detached from Beth Din. He has to bring his own korban, his own little story, his own little shepzaleh. Even according to Rav, yes, the mistakes are connected to Beth Din, but it's not the same type of mistake with everyone. Mimele, they're not all together summing up to accumulating to make Beth Din bring korban because of Roiv. That's how it goes. Why do we need the Roiv? Kohol? Because it says Kahal. Kahal means congregation. Congregation means the majority, Rubei Kehuloi, the majority of the congregation is what makes Beth Din bring korban. Thank you. Weiter. Bein she'osu v'osu imoin. Now, let's read again the Mishnah. You can either read it inside, I'm just saying in Baal Peh. Basically, the Mishnah brought us 3 examples of how does a person sin and making the mistake, a regular mistake. He followed Beth Din. We're not talking anymore now about the guy who made the double mistake. We're back to the regular guy, a regular good Yid, a good Jew. He wants to know what to do. The Badatz told him, the biggest Badatz in the world, they told him, yes, you can eat this chaylev, go home and eat it. He went home and he ate it, yeah. Achalota. He ate it, yeah. So then what do we say? No. Is he chayev? Well, no, he's potter. Says the Mishnah, he's potter because Yochid that followed Beth Din, according to Rabbi Yehuda, is potter. Yeah, it's their responsibility, not mine. I'm potter for being a korban. Now, and the Mishnah brought 3 different examples and 3 different scenarios how the person make this mistake and how much is he really connected to Beth Din in the mistake. The Mishnah said 3 examples. Ben she'ochlu v'ochel imohen, they ate together with him. Is Mekurev to the Badatz. They ate, managed with him, the same meal, the same time. He was in the Siyum. Oh, they made a nice Siyum, invited by Jeff and Yitzchok, and what? And together they all ate, which shouldn't happen to us. Yeah? The Beth Din ate the chaylev, together with him, he also ate the chaylev. Then came the second case. Beth Din ate the chaylev, and he followed them. A day or 2 later, or sometime later, he also ate the chaylev and they ate it already before. They had eaten it before. And the third case is they never ate it bichlal. They paskened that you can eat it, but they never ate it themselves, and he ate it on by himself. He ate it physically not connected to them. All three accounts, all three cases, we say that person, what's about this person? We say he's potter. He's potter, because Maisa, they gave him the Hoiro. Whether he ate with them, without them, with or without them, he ate basing himself on their psak, and therefore he is potter. Okay, now says, and then, now we have to continue. This very good summary of the Mishnah. Came the second case of the Mishnah. Remember the second case of the Mishnah, the Seifa, which I think Shlomo started saying something about it yesterday. The Seifa is about a guy who's knowledgeable. He's a man who's a dayan himself, and from some reason they don't listen to him. Maybe he's a mute. And now this person knows that Beth Din are wrong, and he still follows them even though he knows that they're wrong. That's a whole different story why. He's overdoing Emunus Chachamim, okay? And this person, is he chayiv or potur? Who? Chayiv. You know better. Don't allege it to Beth Din. You know that you shouldn't, and you did. You made a mistake of believing them too much, knowing that they're wrong. And therefore, you should bring your own korban. And there too, the Mishnah brought the same three cases. Either he ate with them, he ate after them, or he ate without them b'chlal. Now that we've summarized, now we can get the question. Says the Gemara, why do you have to bring me all three examples? The Mishnah is not a storyteller. Says the Gemara. Yeah, the Tana is not like a market, like a fisherman that starts screaming in the market many times. A salesperson. No, why is the Mishnah saying all these examples? And the Gemara now elaborates on the question. In the first case, when the person is potur, because he is basing himself on Beth Din, as a regular, not very big Talmud Chacham, regular guy, and now he's soymech, relying on Beth Din, there I can understand why you have the three cases. Why? Loizu afzuk tani. Loizu afzuk tani, we gradually increase the level of chidush, which makes sense. If he ate with them, he's mamish relying on them. They ate with me the same second. I put this piece of yummy, it was really good. Chelev in memaf, mamish when Rav Dorfman and Rav Ullman and all the big rabbanim, they were there with me. And even they, and then we say, avada, the what? You are together with them, you are potter. Now the chiddush is, even if you ate after them, they ate it on Sunday and he ate it on Tuesday. Maybe they regretted their psak. You didn't eat it mamish with them. You're a little bit less connected to Beth Din. Chiddush, even though you're a little bit less connected to Beth Din in your action, you're still yes connected because you follow their psak at the end of the day and you're potter. And then came the third example. Beth Din never ate that chelav. The paskin you can. They told him, yes, go home and eat it, but they never ate it themselves. So maybe you could say, he's even less connected to them. They're not eating it ever, and he does. So maybe he's even less connected. Maybe you'll make him bring his own korban because he's a big independent boy? No. Even then we say, no. They're paskind. Who cares they don't eat it? Maybe they're vegetarian. Maybe they don't have the money to eat it. They never ate it. Lamais is acting upon their words, and therefore he's still potter. But the three cases are very nicely, gradually mentioned. But now look at the Seifa. The Seifa is just the opposite. The Seifa is about a guy who is, yes, doing his own thing. The Seifa is a guy who knows very well it's chelev, and he knows it's also to eat chelev, and he's still doing it because he thinks you should always listen to the rabbi, even if the rabbi is wrong, even if you know he's wrong. Yeah. So the Seifa, in the Seifa, in the second part of the Mishnah, that order does not make sense, right? It's just the opposite. The L'chiyuva, in the Seifa, we're mechayavim, we make him bring his own korban because he's working independently. If so, ipchami baile, it should have been just the other way around. It should be the other way around, right? Because in the Seifa, it doesn't make sense. What does the Seifa say? When he ate together with them, he's very connected to them. That's the biggest chiddush. Even though he's very, very connected to them, he ate together, zusammen, with the Beth Din he ate, we still say, hey, don't fool us. You ate with them, mamish together the same second, but, you should have known better. That's why you chayiv. If not, the other cases, they ate without them, after them, or without them, are of course less of a chiddush. If he ate without them, then of course he's independent, and he's working on his own, and has to bring his own korban. So the chiddush doesn't make sense. The order of the list should be just the other way around, says the Rashi. It should have been even if he ate completely alone, or even after, or even with them. Here, the biggest chiddush is even if he ate together with them, that's the biggest chiddush. The order doesn't make sense. And says the Gemara, many times the Mishnah tells us one case, and then it gives us a less mechudesh case, and then another less mechudesh case. Why? I remember the Rishonim, or maybe Achronim, remember before Shema, the second parak of Kiddushin at the beginning, they say because the Mishnahs were kavu in a certain way for stylistic reasons. Like, for example, sometimes the Mishnah will say a certain halacha, later on they would learn another halacha, and therefore they would mention the other halacha later, even though it's less mechudesh. In this case, I say for the back of the Gemara, Choik Noson. The Choik Noson says, you know why is the Mishnah maintaining the same order in the Reisha and in the Seifa, even though the Seifa doesn't make sense to be misader that way? Because we want to keep the Mishnah very nice in good order, and the Mishnah should be able to be read well. Yeah, the Mishnah should be, like, in other words, flowing well, and to remember case A, B, C, and then again A, B, C, instead of A, B, C, and then C, B, A, which should have been logic. We don't always go by logic, but the Mishnahs were always taught by heart, right? The Mishnah's Torah Shabbat Peh was taught by heart. My father, he had, not himself, he had a friend, every time he went to the Makolit in Krakow in Poland, so his parents said, you go from here to the Makolit and back, you have to memorize this amount of Mishnahs, and we'll test you. That was his trip to the Makolit and back, would be to memorize Mishnahs Baal Peh. Mishnahs Baal Peh is a big thing. Here too, in order to memorize Baal Peh, the Mishnah gives up on the fancy Chidushim and just wants to maintain an order which will be easy to remember. Okay, for technical reasons. V'yoda echad mehen. Now we're in the very top of Beis Amud Beis. V'yoda echad mehen shetou oy talmid v'roi lo hiro. What did we say in the second case? A person knows that they made a mistake, meaning one of the dayanim, he's with them. He's part of Beth Din, and he knows that they're wrong. Maybe he told them they didn't want to listen. Maybe kept his mouth shut. I don't know. But Lamaisa, he knows that his friends are wrong. But he's a minority. What can you do? Sometimes it happens. Or alternatively, Talmid v'roi lo hiro. He's a Talmid. He's not yet sitting in Beth Din, but like you said very nicely, he's one of the people standing in front of Beth Din, and he is suitable for a role. His level is a level of Dayan. He's not yet a Dayan because you have 71 people. Yeah, there's no free spaces, no vacancies in the office. Yeah, but Lamaisa, he is the next best thing. He is at the same level of a Dayan. Zok the Gemara, Shrek the Gemara asks a question, Tati Lamali. Why do you have to bring me both cases? Why did Mishnah have to tell me a Dayan and also a person who's a Dayan, who's a would-be Dayan, of a level of a Dayan? Why do you have to tell me both? Omarove, Itzrich. Yeah, I have to tell you both. Why? If you only told me a Dayan himself and not the Talmid, I would have said, Hani Mili, I would have thought that when is this halacha true that the person has to bring his own korban, his own responsibility? Gamir v'savir. Gamir v'savir means what? Bekiyas and iyun. Gamir means a person who knows the Gemara, meaning he was mekabel the text from Rabbi Yosef, and savir means mevin dover mitach dover, somebody who has depth and understanding. A Dayan has both. A Dayan in Beis Din has both. Aval gamir v'lo savir. But let's say a person is of a lower level. He knows a lot of Gemara. He knows a lot of information, Bekiyas, but he doesn't have the depth and the Sharfkeit and the Svara. Loi, I would have said he himself is not, meaning he's potter. He's not at the level to say you should have known better because his level is a bit lower. At this point, the Gemara understands that the Talmid that should have been a Dayan, could have been a Dayan, would have been a Dayan, is in a bit of a lower level. And that's the Chiddush of the Mishnah. Even a person whose level is not both Gomer and Sover, he's only Gomer, he too is big enough to say, hey, mister, you should have known why did you eat the Chaylev. Omar Abaye, but Abaye is asking the obvious question. Omar Abaye, a Talmid which is suitable to be a Dayan tomorrow, yeah, let's say tonight one of the Dayanim dies, or I don't know, runs away to Chutz La'aretz, so we say that he is the new guy will become there instead of him. Of course he's Gamir V'Savir. Gamir V'Savir also, right, Mashma, he's also Gamir V'Savir. Why are you telling me that the Talmid who's a would-be Dayan is a bit of a lower level? It's not true. The people who can be Dayanim, they have the degree. They have the same level exactly like a Dayan. They happen not to be in Beis Din right now, but of course they're the same level. So what you're saying, Rava, is wrong, says Abaye, first time in our lives. Amalei, Rava explains what he meant. Rava meant something completely different. Amalei, Siyat Ishmael. I know what I, says Rava, Hachika Amina. This is what I meant, says Rava. If if we only had one case mentioned, which case? Dayan. If the Mishnah would have only told me Dayan and not the Talmud that can be a Dayan, Havamina, I would have said Hani Miligomil V'Savil. I would have said a Dayan. Oh, a Dayan. He has both Gemara and Svara, Bekiyas and Iyun. He's got it all. Aval Gomil V'Loi Savil Loi. But the person who's one level below is a huge Talmid Chacham. He knows a lot of Gemaras, but he doesn't have that level of depth and understanding. I would have said, he's at a bit of a lower level, then we say he's connected to Beth Din. He doesn't have his own free mind enough, not enough of a level to say it's your responsibility. Therefore, Tana Roy Loy. That's why the Mishnah mentioned another, listen to my word, redundant case. Roy Loy really is as big as Dayan. You are right, Abaye. Roy Loy is as good as Natoy, as somebody who's in Beth Din. Elamai, this is just like the cases of the Torah, where if the same halacha mentioned again and again, which means, since we have two cases, one of them being redundant, that in both cases are gomir and savir. What happens in the Torah? I want you to tell me. What happens when the Torah tells you the same halacha twice in a way that seems to be redundant? We have a rule called im eino inyan legufoi, now inyan for something else. Yeah, it's like an overflow. If I have one cup of 1 liter and there's 2 liters there, obviously there's an overflow that moves to another cup or to the plate beneath. Which means if a halacha is mentioned twice, or a pasuk mentioned twice, or Mishnah saying something twice, then we automatically say, okay, there's an overflow, and now we learn to the next best case next to it. In our case, let's summarize. In our Mishnah, we say, if a person is knowledgeable enough, whatever that means, he's knowledgeable enough, and he knows the Beis Din are wrong, and he's at the same level of Beis Din, and he still foolishly followed them, he has to bring his own korban. What's called a person who's in a high enough, what's enough level? He's either a dayan, or a person that can be a dayan, but he's not exactly there right now. If so, says the Gemara, it's extra, it's redundant. Right. There's a redundant case to tell me that even if a person is not one of those two, but of a lower level, he's gomir v'loy savir, he knows the information, but he doesn't have the depth, that person too will learn from that extra box that we ticked in the Mishnah. He too is responsible enough, knowledgeable enough to bring his own korban. Bidyuk. That's why they said it twice, 100%. The Mishnah said it twice in order to let me know the case which is not mentioned in the Mishnah. It's b'chavana. We take 1 liter cup and fill it up with 2 liters, so the other liter would now, the other amount of water would b'dafka flow to the next cup. Okay, very good. Now, roy loy ro. Now the Gemara goes more to elaborate. When the 2 dots, the line starts with the word veloy gamil. Line starts with veloy gamil, veloy loy ro. Kigon man. Who is the person who's really suitable to be a moiroy ro? A lot of people will tell you, I have a frak, I wear a hamburger on my hand, and I even have dayonus, very nice. He went to one of those quick dayonus courses, and then roy loy ro. There are such things nowadays. And who's really suitable to be a moiroy? Give me an example. Be more specific when you say roy loy ro, somebody suitable already to be a dayan. Omar Rova, I'll give an example. Kigon Shimon ben Azai and Shimon ben Zoyma. Ben Azai and Ben Zoyma, 2 very, very heilige Tanoim. They were sitting in front of Beis Din. They did not become a Dayanim, to the best of my memory from Sanhedrin. But those Ben Azai and Ben Zoyma were so high, they were sitting in the front row in front of Beis Din, and they would like discuss things with the Dayanim live. As the discussion, the hearing would be going on, they were also consulted as, very choshev members in the audience. So they're almost a die, and they were mamish like 99% there. If they're so knowledgeable like them, they're amazing already. They for sure know 100% that the chelev is chelev. They know dam is dam. They know that this new machine on Shabbos is also to use on Shabbos, or whichever Easter chorus we talk about. They're so high. How can you call them shaygeg? Really, we already dealt with that question before. We'll see it again now. At such high level, of course, they're number 1. Says the Gemara, according to your understanding, you're asking me a question? Excuse me, how are you dealing with the following brisa? Hadetanya, I'll bring you a brisa, and you'll find yourself in trouble. Look what the brisa says. It says in the brisa, quoting the pasuk in the Torah, Ba'soiso achas. Yeah, it says, Nefesh kisechato, One soul makes a sin, transgresses. Making one, yeah. In other words, So one person followed his own understanding, his own mistake, and that pasuk tells you that he has to bring his own shepsele, a personal korban. What does that mean? A person, this is very, very good chazara for everything we've been learning till now. A yochid, the regular shmogo guy, a regular person, he does his own mistake, he stepped into the mud himself, and it's just his fault, although it's by mistake, chayev. What does he have to bring? Personal korban. What's a personal chatos? What?
What is it?
Yeah, a bull?
No.
A lamb, a she goat, or she sheep? She sheep, a ewe, yeah? No, ewe is older. It has to be younger one. Ewe is older, right? I think EW. It's a young one. Up to a year old, either a she goat or sheep, yeah? Mary had a little lamb. So that's what he has to bring. But it was Beth Din. If a regular Mr. Joe Schmo, a regular guy, followed Beth Din, they told me it's okay. They told me it's fine to eat the chalev. They told me I can use that new kind of oven and Shabbos. Potter, then he's potter. It's not his fault. It's their fault. Very nice. Keitzad. Now the Brisa elaborates on that. Well, how would that happen? And Beth Din, everybody decided that this piece of chalev is not chalev. It's okay. And then one of them, one of them was informed. He spoke to the experts, or he looked more into the sugya. He was learning more biyun, and he found out shato. Yeah, one of them realized, my friends were mistaken, and we're all mistaken, myself included. Maybe didn't have enough time to inform the other ones before the cell phone, whatever. But he knows everyone's wrong, yeah, and they don't. Or you have a Talmud meaning somebody who's not just a Talmud learns Torah. Talmud who is somebody who's learning from the Dayanim. Yoshev Lifneim, he sits in front of the Dayanim on a daily basis. He's definitely suitable and at the level where he can be a Dayan. Yeah, look, the Brisa says exactly the same example as we brought. Shimon ben Azai is a Tana ben Azai. Look at him. Let's say it happened to ben Azai that he realized everybody else is wrong and he is right, that he is right. And he still ate the chalev following Beth Din, knowing that they're wrong. Would you say that he's potter? Because, well, he follows Beth Din, he's following instructions. Talmud loima ba'asoiso achas. Comes the pasuk to tell me, you can't get off the hook. Asoiso achas. Your own mistake. Yochid, your own mistake as an achas individual. A person who does something upon his own word is chayev. And this Ben Azai, for example, if he eats the chalev, he knows what he's doing. He knows he's eating chalev. But was Beth Din potu. But now the question is, well, how come this person is bichlal bringing a korban? Let's crystallize the question. Let's crystallize the question. 1 second. Let's crystallize the question, and I'm telling you like this. The question is like this. When a person eats chalev, there are many options of what kind of avera and what kind of punishment or tikkun does he deserve. We're talking now about 3 different options. If the person relies on Beth Din, then what does he have to bring? According to Rabbi, nothing. If he is relying on himself, mamish himself, forget about Beth Din. He made his own mistake. He mixed chalev and shuman. What does he have to bring? Chatos. Very good. Shogi is chatos. What happens if he says, I know it's chalev, but you know what? It's so tasty. I don't care. Just once. Hashem will forgive me this one time. Yeah? Because the chalev is so tasty and I'm hungry. And Rabbi Elizabeth said it's fine. No. What do you say? So many compelling reasons. And B'mezid, he went and he ate the chalev. Does he bring a korban B'mezid? No. Because what? If there was a straw, he gets malchus. Otherwise, he gets chorus, which is kind of not very nice in the Olam Haba. In any event, there's no. In most cases, there are exceptions. In most cases, definitely in Chatos, there is no Chatos on Mezid. So now the Gemara is asking a question. Excuse me? You're telling me that in this very biggest case, in this nebulous case of Ben Azai, he knows Mezid is wrong and he's still doing it, so he knows he's wrong. Well, in my book, that's called Mezid. So why? Your question is a good question, but you can ask it on the brisa. If he knows he's wrong, where's korban? He's going to get chorus, which is much worse. Why is he bringing his own korban? His own korban because he's just a free thinker and he should have known better. So that's Mazid. And therefore, why are you telling me that he's bringing a korban of himself? There's no korban for Mazid in most cases. And says the Gemara, so, well, how would you find such a case? Mashkachas find. How would you find a case where the person knows that Beis Din are wrong, still follows them, and you say he's not amazing? He brings a korban. That's weird. And says the Gemara, ki going to yodu de osur. He knows it's osur. Chelev wise, he knows chelev is osur. The katoi, but he's not a complete mazid. He's not like, this is treif. I've been fantasizing since the age of 3 to taste that chelev. No. Chas v'shalom. He's making a mistake, an honest mistake. What's his mistake? The mitzvah l'shma divrei chachamim. Ay. He was always taught. What was he taught? And that's a very, very important thing to follow. It's very important to follow Gdolei Torah and Chachamim and Beis Din. You should definitely follow the Rav and you should follow what he says, because it says even if it tells you right is left and left is right. But now this person took it to a wrong extent. He took it to the extent of what? He's as big as them, right? And he knows that they're wrong, but he thinks he's wrong in that halacha. He thinks you should follow Chachamim even if they are wrong. That's his mistake. It's a halachic mistake. Hashkafik and halachic mistake. So he's not mazid. He's not mazid. He's not all heated up. Let's eat the chelev because I'm just hungry and I'm dying to do the avera. No. He thinks he's doing the right thing halachically. But the type of mistake is not mistaking chelev for shuman or following Beis Din blindly. He knows they're wrong, but he thinks that he should follow them even if they are wrong. So that's a kind of mistake which makes him bring his own chatas. That was his own mistake. Therefore, he should bring his own chatas, go to Mary, buy the lamb, and I hope it's not a Christian thing what I'm saying, or it is. I don't know. No, to Miriam. He goes to Miriam, to Miriam, he buys a sheep, Mesharim, and what? He gets the sheep and brings it to Beis HaMikdash. Haladidi Nami. Now he concludes his words. Now, says Rove, my case also, the Torah b'mitzvah l'shmodi v'chachomim. Just like we explained the Brisa, if it's good for the Brisa, it's good for Rove the Amayro. So don't attack me, says Rove, about the case that I'm portraying. It's a good case. It's a person who knows very, very well. He made one mistake. I guess even a person of level of Ben Azai shows solidarity to his fellow Dayanim, to the Rabbanim, the Dayanim. He thinks he should follow them even if they're wrong. And that was his mistake. Therefore, he's not amazing. He's a shaygig, but different kind of shaygig. Okay, yes, question time. Zeklal, hatoyle be'atzmoi chayev. Zeklal, we said at the end of the Mishnah, the very end of the Mishnah, we said Zeklal, this is the rule. Now the Gemara, the Mishnah concluded with a general rule that comes to include more cases. Hatoyle be'atzmoi chayev. What's toyle? The one who alleges, the one who connects the ma'aser to himself. He made his own mistake, chayev. And hatoyle be'beis din, Chayiv his own little korban, his own shepsaleh. The one who's told to Beis Din, the one who relies on Beis Din, is not bringing his own korban. Okay, very nice. Now the question is, letuye mai. What is that new rule coming to add? Right? The Mishnah is not some poetic book that ends off with an extra line. When the Mishnah tells you a whole story, zeklal, what is the rule? A rule means something more general, right? It's a rule. Letuye mai. What is this rule? Which cases is this rule coming to add? To conclude, to bring, in English would say to include, to bring into the circle. Letuye answers the Gemara a very interesting case. Letuye mevayet ba'iro. Letuye mevayet ba'iro, which means the follows. What did we say? A person who's toile ba'atzmoi, a person relying on his own mistake, so to say, relying on his mistake, yes, that's what he did. He's chayiv his own korban. Well, what's the chiddush? What's the new case here? Mevayet ba'iro. What is mevayet ba'iro? What's livot in English? To kick, to be more, the one who kicks Beis Din. What does that mean? Mevayet means a person who in Yiddish would say five. He doesn't care about what Beis Din says. Yeah, Beis Din say not to use this, not to do that, not to wear this, that phone, that thing. He doesn't care. He's openly against Beis Din. He doesn't care what Beis Din say. Right, left, and center. That person does his own thing. And Beis Din can do whatever they want. They say whatever they want. Loch patlo. He kicks kilo in their faces. He doesn't care about what they say. And look what happened one day. This is a very Metzias Dika thing. One day, our dear friend, he ate the chelev, he ate that chaylev that is osur to eat. Happens to be that Bedatz 2 days ago mistakenly allowed that chaylev. So now the person would say, and then everyone found out, oh, big scandal, balagan. Oh, wow, you know what happened on Wednesday? The entire Yerushalayim, the whole Eretz Yisrael, the whole world, everyone else, Beis Din were wrong. Whoa, you know, this chaylev is really treif, is really osur. So everybody else, they say, we don't have to bring a korban. Either Yochid for Yehuda or Rabbi Mekul Alma. It's not our mistake. We followed Beis Din directive. We went to the Rav himself and he told us to eat the chaylev. And then Mr. Mevait, Mr. Free Thinker, Mr. Mevait says, I don't have to bring a korban because I relied on Beis Din. Well, the rabbi said it's fine. Oh, really? Good morning. We're so moved by your sudden burst of frumkeit. You care about what the Rav said? That's new for us. You always say you don't care about what the Rav says. You don't care about Beis Din. But when it suits you, all of a sudden say, well, the rabbi said it's fine. Oh, really? No, mister. You have to bring your own korban. Because you prove time after time that your derech, your malach is to fight on Beis Din, not care about them. You're not really relying on Beis Din. You would have done it anyways because you don't care about what they say. Mimele, you have to bring, if he regrets the chaylev, he's not breaking the oraisa. Chaylev is, then you have to bring your own little korban because you're not really relying on chachamim. Because for you, what chachamim say is just like a joke in the newspaper, unfortunately. So don't tell me that, oh, the rabbi said, so that's a fault. No, you don't listen to the Rav. Mimele, in this case, we say, you too, you do have to bring your own personal korban. The other people always listen to the Rav. They have a record of listening to the Rav. And Mimele, here too, now they really listen to the Rav and they were misled. They would say, sorry, it's not my issue, it's a Rav's issue. But you never listen to the Rav. Well, then it's your issue. Even now, when you listen, it's really your own issue. Now you have to bring your own Indian, your own korban. That's this case. Now, toilet bebeis din. Now, the second part of the end of the Mishnah is, we said, toilet bebeis din potu. The Mishnah concluded saying that a person who alleges, who connects his sin to Beis Din, relying on Beis Din, then he is potu. Well, again, the question is, letuye mai, letuye, what is this coming to include? Letuye hoil Beis Din. This is a very interesting case. Hoil Beis Din. The case is as follows. Beis Din made a oro, okay? And they said on Sunday, they said, yes, everyone says, loudspeakers, peshkevili, personal messages, you're allowed to eat the chaylev. The new chaylev that just came from Papua New Guinea is fine, you can eat it. Oh, everyone's rushing to the shops to buy it. And then eventually on Tuesday, let's say, v'yodu shuto v'chozru bahen. Yeah, which means on Tuesday, they already regretted, they made more inquiries, they learned the sugya better, and on let's say on Wednesday, already most people knew that Beis Din regretted the psak, revoked the psak, and now everybody knows, oy, vavoy, vavoy, then what about everybody else? They don't have to bring their own korban. We relied on Beis Din, and eventually Beis Din woke up and realized their mistake, yofi. What happened to our guy? Our guy in the Mishnah is a person who's not updated. I don't know what's the adjective for somebody who's the opposite of Yachne. Some people are just the opposite of Yachne Yenta. They never know what's going on around them. In other words, he's not up to date with Beis Din's new psak. He heard the psak till Sunday, but he's not aware. He never reads the pashkevilim or the internet or the newspaper, which is good maybe. And the newspaper, he doesn't talk to people. He's shakur in his own thing. He doesn't know factually that Beis Din revoked their psak. He's still living under the impression that what? The Second World War is still here. Joking. He still thinks, some people are. Yeah, he still thinks that really Beis Din said it's allowed. So he went on Wednesday to buy the chaylev innocently, not knowing Beis Din already forbade it. It's just a technical mistake, but really they did. So now it's saying, what should we do? Because really, most people already know. And Beis Din, as of now, Wednesday morning, they did clearly revoke the psak. He's just not up to date with story. It's not a simple case. The Mishnah later on talks about a person who's here, chutzat, about to go to chutzat, all kinds of cases. Here the Mishnah says, generally speaking, he's potter. Because it's an innocent mistake, because he's just not up to date with Beis Din news. He doesn't get the WhatsApps or emails from Beis Din every minute what they say, what they do. Mimela is not aware of what's going on, but it's still considered mistake that's connected to Beis Din, even though Beis Din themselves are already not holding there, but he's still relying on old information. It's still considered relying on Beis Din, and he's still potu. And that's the chiddush of Tola beBeis Din, even too late, still potu. And that is definitely a chiddush. That's what the Mishnah came to tell me. Frag the Gemara, that? Behedya Ketani lo. The Mishnah later on tells us this case mefurash. You say our Mishnah is telling us to include that. Kilu, wow, it's a big wow kind of chiddush. It's a cool case, but it's mentioned mefurash outright in the next Mishnah. So why does Mishnah have to say the same thing twice? And says the Gemara, Tani v'adal meforish. No, it's not redundant. Look how nicely the Mishnah is phrased. First of all, our Mishnah said klal. Klal means, as far as I know, a rule. Yeah, it's a general rule, a general idea. Zaklal. And then the next Mishnah elaborates what the klal means. Yeah, it tells you that's the rule. Anybody who's relying on base, what's anybody? Comes the next Mishnah tells you, like a guy who's misken, not updated with the news, but he's an honest mistake, he too is also potter, even though right now, chronologically speaking, based in Aser did. Very nice. Okay, that is up to now. Okay, we have 10 minutes to go into the deep water. Now we're going to a sugya. It's really not that hard, but we just need to, as I say, hold cup, to hold cup means. Amar Avyuda, holding cup, Okay, Amar Avyuda. Amar Avyuda, Amar Shmuel. Hold cup. Amar Avyuda, Amar Shmuel. Yeah. Zudi Avyuda. As I told you many times, we said our Mishnah follows the opinion of Avyuda. What does Avyuda say? Avyuda says that even though, listen carefully, because this is very, very essential, even though it says in the Torah, HaKohol, which means when do Beis Din have to bring the big korban, the bull that's brought inside to the holy, to the not Kodesh Kodashim, but Kodesh? When is that big story happens? Only when the majority of Klal Yisrael living in Eretz Yisrael follow them. Kahal, the big community, the congregation, 51%, or the Shvatim, the people, that's what they have to bring. That everyone agrees to that. And the people, what do we say? I assume they're patur, right? Beis Din brings the korban, and not the people. Oh, very nice. What did our Mishnah talk about? Our Mishnah spoke about a person, an individual, or minority. Individual, by the way, means, just to clarify, to clear the dust over here, the mist, means could be millions of people. In our country, it could be like 3.5 million people, but they're less than the majority. If less than the majority followed Beis Din, listen, Beis Din don't have to bring a korban because it's not what the Torah prescribes. It's not hakahal. People are less than 50%. They're not called the Jewish nation. They're the minority. You can't make a Knesset even, the Memshala. Yeah, the president won't allow them to make a government. So now what happens? Where's the Machlokas Rabbi and Rabbanon? If the individuals followed Beis Din, do those individuals have to actually bring a korban or not? Our Mishnah said that what? What did our Mishnah say? That the person is potter from korban. If Beis Din paskin one way, even though I'm an individual, Beis Din don't have to bring a korban, and the individual does not have to bring korban either. That's opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Interesting. Nobody brings a korban. Very funny, but that's what happens. Yeah, minority, only the minority followed Beis Din, then the person, Beis Din don't bring a korban, right? And neither does the person, individual, he doesn't bring a korban either, because he can say, listen, each one passes the buck. Beis Din says, it's not a call. And the person says, I followed the instructions of Beis Din. I was really innocent guy. I'm the most Haredi guy in the world. But Lamaisa now, I followed Beis Din. Okay? So that's Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, that's Rabbi Yehuda. Nobody brings the korban in that case. No korban. Okay, do something else. Say, Sham de Begadnu louder on Yom Kippur. Aval, here comes the big news. Chachamim oimrim, Yochid Shosbo as Beis Din Chayev. Chachamim say no. Chachamim say an individual or minority that followed Beis Din, because Beis Din does not bring a korban, because it's not a call, then somebody has to bring the korban. You know that somebody is? Well, you know that is? It's a Yochid. A Yochid, if you, against our entire Mishnah, if you are not part of 51%, or mamish above the middle line, then if they don't bring a korban, which they don't Beis Din, then you and you, each individual from minority, have to bring their own korban alone. Because you can't, I'm not saying that's the reason, I'm just to be misaber soizen, it's Chachamim work like a seesaw. Someone has to bring the korban. Chachamim is very easy to remember. Chachamim are very easy and logical. It's mamish a seesaw. It's a balancing game. Somebody has to bring the korban, pass the buck. Somebody has to hold the buck and hold the baby and hold responsibility. If the majority followed Beis Din brings the korban, and now we assume that the majority, they don't, right? But if Beis Din only minority followed them, then what do we say? Minority rights. then Beis Din don't bring a korban. Aha, but then a minority, the people have to bring a korban. It's very easy. It's very easy, right? Majority, Beis Din brings only. By minority, only the people bring. Very nice. And Rabbi Yehuda argues. Rabbi Yehuda says no. In the case of minority, nobody brings the korban. Is it hard to understand? Good. That's just facts. I prefer not questions unless they're urgent.
When you say the minority brings each,
Yeah.
so that could be, humiliating.
Yeah. Excuse me, there was a Zoom crisis. And yes, when I say minority bring korban, that means each and every one. Could be a million. If 3 million people followed Beis Din, and they're not the majority of Jews in Eretz Yisrael, Baruch Hashem, you have to bring, each one will bring his own little shepsele, the little goat and a female one, each and every one. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Mary becomes very rich at that point. Yeah, it's like Zoom in Corona. It's like Zoom in Corona. If there's a major mistake for a lot of individuals, each one separately, they all have to bring a sheep and they have to import them from Australia. Zok the Gemara. So this is the fact. Now let's look for the sources. Who told you this is right? My Rabbi Yehuda. Where did you see Rabbi Yehuda saying what he's saying, that the individual who followed Beis Din or minority followed Beis Din does not have to bring his own korban? The Tanya, it says in the Baisa, "Im nefesh achas techeto bishgogo ba'asoiso." This is the famous pasuk which keeps repeating here and in Shabbos and in Krisus. This pasuk is telling you that's the pasuk of Chatas Yochid, an individual person sinning by mistake, by shogeg, and bringing his own chatas. What does it say? Nefesh achas techto bishgogo ba'asoiso. There's a lot of extra words. One soul makes a sin alone, bishgogo ba'asoiso. Again, it says that he does a sin. Hare elu gimel miutin. There are 3 different words here that are extra. Each one comes to exclude something else. On purpose, I'm not talking about the other exclusions that have to do with Shabbos. One of the exclusions is ha'oisa mipi atzmoi chayev. A person acting upon himself is chayev, whereas Beis Din potu, which means Rabbi Yehuda is using the pasuk over the individual korban. The individual korban, yes, that one korban brought by him, and that by him, and that by her, and he says that individual korban, if it was brought by the because of a Beis Din related mistake, potter. Beis Din don't bring the korban, okay, and I don't bring a korban either. The Torah says, if it's because of Beis Din, I'm potter, even from my own individual korban, even though I acted, individually, and not part of a roiv. That's Rabbi Yehuda. Very nice, good. Now, my Rabbanon is a tiny bit trickier. How do you know that Rabbanan told us that a yochid, an individual or minority who followed Beis Din, they do have to bring each one his own little personal korban? How do you know that? When I say little, doesn't mean little, by the way. It just means as opposed to a big bull, it's a sheep. That's all. It's a young sheep up to a year old. That's all I mean. Yeah. My Rabbanan, the Tanya. Let's listen to the Raisa, analyze it, and understand it. Be'ezrat Hashem. Although time is almost up, but we'll read the Raisa. The Tanya. Adayin ani oimer, I would still say, so the Raisa starts talking in the middle and soon understand what this is adayin. Adayin, I would still claim, miut kol shechotu, and miut kol, what's miut kahal? What's miut? Minority. The minority of the congregation, they sinned, chayovim, they have to bring their own korban, each and every one. You know why? Shein Beis Din mevin only then. Remember what I told you? It's a seesaw. Somebody has to be up if the other one is down. Somebody got to pick the buck. Somebody has to do it. Beis Din don't bring a korban if it's less than roiv. Well, who does? Yeah, well, hefker velt. Well, the individuals do. Each one has to bring his own. Now, and excuse me, I stopped short in the middle. She'en Beis Din then par, yeah, par, meaning they don't bring the big korban of Beis Din is not brought, so each one has to bring his own, as I explained. Now, roiv kol shechotu yupturin. What about the majority of the call? The majority of the call, I would say, are potter. That's what I told you before, right? Roiv call, and by the way, I wasn't wrong, as we'll see in the Maskana. Roiv call, let's say 51% or 50% in one person. 50, it's like 0.01%, 0.01%, yeah? Let's say they all followed Beis Din. Who brings the korban? If majority of people followed Beis Din, who brings the korban? For sure, no question, Beis Din. Roiv a call. So now, what about the people? Do they still have to bring each and one their own? I would say pturin. I would say no, they don't just bring each one their own korban. Shari Beis Din mevin alideim par. Beis Din brings a par because of them. Why 2 korbanos? Yeah. let the animals live, be a little bit green. The Beth Din brings the korban the par, so why do the individual has to bring each one their own? I would say they don't have to bring each one their own, right? Talmud Loimar, here comes surprise, surprise, surprise. Comes the Torah and tells me in a pasuk related to an individual korban, Me'am haaretz. What's Me'am haaretz? Afilu ruba v'afilu kula. It sounds like as if the Bryce is saying that the majority, although there's a korban brought by Beth Din, and I would say misvara that they're exempt, we still say that they have to bring their own korban. That is not true, by the way. It's not true, but seemingly, on face value, but the first reading of the Brisa will have like 2 or 3 ways of reading it. It seems as if the Brisa is saying that when the majority made the sin, then both Beit Din brings a big bull, and also each one has to bring their own. Why? Because it says Me'am haaretz. Am haaretz tells me not Am haaretz a foolish guy in Am haaretz. He means Am haaretz means each and every Am haaretz, each and every regular Joe Schmo still has to bring his own korban. The Gemara will reject it, but that seems to be superficially the way to read the Brisa. And then the Brisa will be read once and again, and then Imretz Hashem will get it right. I would stop the shiur here, and we'll continue that tomorrow. And I'll email you the charts today, and they'll be online as well. And those charts will be helpful to understand tomorrow's stuff. Thank you very much. There's a question now. The shiur is over.
We have
Rabbi, can I ask a question?
See you soon, Alan.